A lot of people have been doing videos where they point out the flaws in their favorite role-playing settings so as to not play favorites with their favorite settings. And Werewolf is my favorite setting, so I'm now going to point out the flaws I see in that. The first flaw is the combat mechanics. It takes a long time. You know, you have to roll your initiative, declare your actions, roll for accuracy, roll for damage, roll for dodge, roll for soaking, and it all takes a long time. If you have a table full of players who've never played the system before, it's going to take a long time for them to wrap their heads around it and to actually do the rolls. And if you have a situation where there's like 6 characters going against 8 characters and you're going to roll everybody's rolls, that's going to take forever. And even for somebody like me who's pretty fluent with the mechanic, who's played the game many a times, you know, still it takes me right out of the scene if it becomes that much, you know, about rolling the dice, you know. And something that you could do to make that go faster is that you only roll initiative and accuracy, that damage and defense would be something more static, that you have this static score of damage and the static score of defense, and based on your accuracy those would play out by themselves without having to do the rolls. But when you look at a real life fight and you try to break it down to like sequenced fights with turns and rolls and all that, I think the fight mechanic makes sense in that sense. It's realistic enough, but it's clanky in the sense that it takes a long time. It's very slow if you go by the rules, so that's something I want to change. The second part is the amount of source books. The source books are great reads. I really love to read source books, but then again, if you're somebody who's relatively new to the game and only have the core book, and then you have like players who have like 20 source books, you're gonna feel like you're fucked, that those players are expecting all these different things that are mentioned in the source books to be in your game. If you want to set your game in, let's say you want to set your game in Atlanta and there's gonna be black spiral dancers, you have this much information about what's going on in Atlanta in the core book and this much information about black spiral dancers, and all the other players have this much info on both of them. So, you know, you're gonna feel that you're gonna have to say that, okay, it's core book stuff only, or something like that, where basically if you want to throw out stuff from your own imagination of why are these black spiral dancers doing this and this, and what motivates them, and what kind of gifts do they have, and that sort of thing, if you just want to, you know, freeform that and come up with them yourself, you know, a lot of players might be like, what the fuck? Like, you know, they might even make plans that are centered around that stuff. They might make this huge plan where the kind of climax of the plan, okay, the way we're gonna save ourselves after doing all this huge, you know, shit on to everybody is that we're gonna go to the, let's say, the Succubus Club and seek haven there. There's no mention of the Succubus Club in the Vampire Core book. You know, if that's somebody's plan and they've already gone through with everything except that last part, you know, the GM is gonna be, okay, what's this Succubus Club exactly? Or say that, oh, well, it's not in the core rulebook, so I'm not gonna use that. They're fucked, you know, so you need to really be clear what level of knowledge you're gonna have and you're gonna use in your games because of that. So it's not only like additional information in their source books, it's added information, it's expanded information, so it's information that's here, but just more. So, you know, it's all of the things you find in the core rulebook is the stuff that's going to be in the game, but it's just, there's just this little mention about it in the core books, and in the source books there's this much, so, you know, it's going to be difficult sometimes, and it's going to be very, like, intimidating to run a game for somebody for the first time when they have that amount of information, you know. And my third thing is the imbalance. Whether it's werewolf or vampire, supernatural speed is totally imbalanced in the game. Whether it's rage in werewolf or celerity in vampire, the supernatural speed grants you additional actions in your turn. You can make a beginning level character a Cleoth in werewolf or a neonate in vampire. Those are like the lowest characters you're gonna be, and you can still have such insane amounts of rage or celerity that you can do like 5 or 6 actions in one turn. With that, you can pretty much kill anybody, whether they're an elder or anybody. If you get initiative to go first and you have 6 actions, actions in one turn. You can just do pretty much anything, you know, unload that whole fucking shotgun or slash them with your katana like all those times. There's no way they can survive that. The other thing is that in backgrounds, werewolves can take fetishes, magic items that you buy with background points, and vampires can take generation, which makes their blood more potent. So that's another thing that's imbalanced. Werewolves can take a very expensive, very apocalyptic, very killer weapons that they can become untouchable with. They can pretty much kill pretty much anybody who steps up to them if they have a strong enough fetish weapon. And the background points with which you buy those weapons are cheap as hell. And with vampire, if you take generation, which is also cheap as hell, you can just punch out walls with your fists. It's just insanely imbalanced when it comes to that. So the GM needs to enforce that I'm not going to allow you to take that. I'm not going to allow you to be of this generation. I'm not going to allow you to have this powerful of a fetish weapon when the game starts. And that sort of thing. So those are the three different things that I have against the werewolf and vampire, the old World of Darkness settings. It's the slow nature of the combat mechanics. It's the source books making people who have only read the core book basically be fucked. And the last one is the imbalance with the extremely cheap, extremely powerful abilities. So there.